Hi, welcome to our discussion, the first of several, on CST 391 Activity Guide 4, Finish the Music Application. So recall in Activity 3, we had the music application, and I have it up here on the left-hand side of my screen, Activity 3, with mock data in it. So the data was contained actually inside of this code. It wasn't making server calls. It had dummy data for the album and artist information. Now we'll be making actual server calls to the server we developed way back in Activity 1. The music server we wrote using Node.js and Node Express. I thought it would be useful to review that, at least from a black box guide. It's been a while since we've written that. So, of course, we have a database running on its normal MySQL port. We have the music loaded. I've provided in the past for you CST 391 DDL with music schema and data. This one script file will both create the database and load it with data. That is the initial data for our application. It has two tables within it, album and track. So that's rating and running in the background. Our server needs it in order to provide the information. So that's our data source. The server, we're going to take a look at it at black box, at least from Postman's perspective, and we're going to take a look at get artists, get albums, post albums, put albums, and delete albums. So let's take a look at get artists. So that's a get method, which is a read method. Our HTTP verb is get. Our REST noun is artists, and we'll send that information or send that request, and the server responds with an array of one artist. ID 0, that comes from the primary key, and the name is the Beatles. That's our artist. And then we'll do get albums. Again, HTTP verb get, but the URL is changed. It now is asking for albums. Again, it returns with an array of album objects with properties ID, title, artist description, and a tracks array inside of this. And I think one or two albums here. Yeah, those are second album. Not the complete Beatles catalog, but a couple of albums for them and their track information. Next, we'll take a look at post. Remember, whereas read is get is a read operation, a post is a write operation, so it needs actually information. So the post verb, the noun hasn't changed for albums. That's appropriate REST API conventions. In our post body, we have the new album that we're creating, Revolver 2, the new Beatles, and track information inside of that. And so when we send this, we create a new album. Notice the album ID of 14 has been created. If we run our query for albums here, select rows, we should be able to see that album at 14, Revolver 2 by the new Beatles. When we ask for artists now, we see also that artists have changed. We have the Beatles and we have the new Beatles now in our artists information. Next, we'll take a look at our post request. Post recall is a write or a new, well, actually, we already did that. So let's look at our modification request. So in our modification request, in our post request, we didn't specify the ID because the server defines that ID as the primary key. Here, for the put or the modification, we have to specify the ID because we have to this is really the key to what we're modifying here. So the only thing I changed here, I think I call it the new Beatles. So when we send that, we have modified that, and we've also changed our data. When we do our get artist request now, we have the Beatles and we have the new Beatles, reflecting the change that we did with our post. We should also be able to see the same when we run the request in Workbench. And there we have it. So we've looked at read and write and put modification. Finally, we're to delete. Here, all the information is in the URL for the delete. There's no post body. We have localhost 3000, albums, the Beatles, delete album 1. Okay, so delete album passed, and when we run the request for albums, we should see that it is gone. Further requests to delete that album will fail. Okay, so that's a review of both the requirements and our Activity 1 server that we wrote in Express. And now we're ready to get into the actual modifications to our activity to get our React application to make server requests.